Good afternoon and hello, Dave Rogers. Welcome to 5 Habits of. It's a pleasure to have you sharing Friday afternoon with me. How are you today?
I'm incredibly well, thanks, Mike, and it's great to be able to join you today.
Brilliant. And we're here today for your session, 5 Habits of Businesses That Succeed.
Yeah,
That's right,
that's
isn't it?
right.
Like a Matt.
Yeah, no, that is exactly why we're here, and I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that we'll be discussing today. Hopefully everybody who's tuning in either live or watches on replay will get a lot out of today's session.
Yeah, brilliant. And today it's really exciting because we're coming up to a book launch for you, which is very exciting. So I've read your first one, so I can't wait to read the second one. And we've actually
Yeah.
dropped the link in the chat already, haven't we? So if you're watching this, people can sign up for the waiting list because it's just being tweaked, I believe. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, that's right. So it's a little bit of a departure from my first book in some regards, because as you know, having read it, that was all about health and well-being and all that sort of stuff as part of a journey I went on, particularly during or in the lead up to and during sort of the pandemic, all what feels like 100 years ago now, but was only four years ago. And so this is really is focusing on business. This book, it's called The Business Explorer: Your Route to Success. And what I'm doing in the book is sharing 27 different sort of hints, tips, behaviors, techniques that I've seen through my 30 years of working in businesses and with businesses that have helped them to succeed. And 5 of those I'll be sharing with the audience today.
Amazing, brilliant. And that is exactly why when we caught up a couple of months ago, you said it was coming. I was just like, I know exactly who I want to get on because I want to find out what's going to be coming out in this book. So without further ado, what is habit number 1, Dave? What should people be thinking about when they want to think about, is their business going to succeed?
Yeah. So habit number 1 for me is embracing a growth mindset. And this was quite interesting for me, because I think we traditionally think about growth mindsets on an individual basis. So people have got a growth mindset, and it's this, insatiable hunger to keep learning, keep improving, but not being afraid to admit when you as an individual perhaps have, don't know something or have got something wrong and need to adapt and pivot, as we were discussing off camera in the lead up to the call, and sort of keep yourself adaptable as an individual. But I think for me as well, I don't think I know, I've seen it, is that actually businesses that succeed have actually got what I would describe as a growth mindset culture.
Okay.
And that encourages curiosity, experimentation, empowers their people to not be afraid to try stuff. And that for me is hugely important. I've seen it on so many occasions where, businesses that I've either worked for or worked with have sort of come to a difficult part of their growth journey because they haven't quite continued that sort of growth mindset sort of journey from startup through to, developing and establishing the business.
Yeah, for sure. And where have you seen that turn up? Have you got any examples of that?
Yeah, so I think for me, there's quite an interesting example. So when and I'm probably gonna mispronounce their name horribly wrong here, but actually, CEO Mike he installed what they described as a learn it all culture.
Okay.
Which sort of existed I suppose, for want of a better phrase, a know it all culture.
All
And
right.
so
Yeah.
they're almost shifting them to become more. So they'd obviously become established, Microsoft, global brand, leading the way and all sorts of things. But I think they'd sort of, in some respects, lost their way a little bit. So that sort of learn it all mindset sort of brought back that continuous development, the innovation, and and further advancing them and getting them back into the, I suppose, leading group of tech businesses, really. And now they're sort of obviously, part of the drive to, with AI and automation at the moment, amongst other businesses. And then I think probably somebody that's a little bit certainly closer to home for me in the West Midlands is Ben Francis from Gymshark.
Yeah.
I think when you look at their journey, and also going back to my point about about growth mindsets being predominantly talked about as an individual. Ben started the business just over 10 years ago in the back of, I think it was either his parents' garage or his friend's parents' garage, and has now grown it into I think it's a billion pound turnover global fitness brand. But through that journey, you've seen various different elements of how he's approached certain things that, again, we'll talk about some of them in the other habits, where he's created this sort of philosophy of, when he realized he hadn't got the skills to be the CEO, he took a deliberate step back and went and worked with the departments in the business and brought somebody in to be that figurehead, so he could learn all the things he needed to then step back up and be a hugely successful CEO as he is now, leading, as I say, one of the biggest fitness apparel brands in the world. So,
yeah. I think that's really true. And it's if you've got one area you're great at and you want to grow a whole business, you need to go away and learn how to make those other bits function and how they operate. You can't sit there in ignorance, can you? Because otherwise you will miss things, and you're not serving those around you at that point, are you?
No, not at all. And I think it's also, as well, it's that bit about understanding how they operate, but also accepting the fact that you're not going to be the expert in that area. So that's another bit, I think, of this whole the growth mindset culture for a business, is going, well, actually, if we haven't got the expertise, let's not try and do it ourselves. Let's get somebody in who's got the expertise for a short time to help us resolve whatever challenge it is within the organization or business.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so if that's habit number one, what's habit number two?
So habit number two is cultivating customer obsession. And I think this is probably, something that I definitely saw during my time working in the hospitality industry, that customer obsession is now more than just creating good service. It's about exceptional experiences, and it's about bringing almost answering the customer's needs before the customer realizes they need whatever that product or service or is, and creating those, for me, like seamless experiences. And I wrote about one in my LinkedIn post today, actually summarizing my week that's just happened. And it's a simple thing, but just going out to meet a business colleague and actually old school friend who we quite often catch up and go for a bite to eat during the week, and we had amazing food service, an experience at just a local pub to us, and it was just amazing, just the whole personalization of the experience and all of those things. And yeah, it just made it a beautiful experience for everybody, really.
Yeah. And how did people get that, though, that customer obsession? What's the thing that they could hold in their mind to keep that working?
Yeah, I think for me, it's having that deep empathy with the customer. And that isn't, there's all that old adage, isn't the customer's always right, and that's not necessarily always the case. But I think it's about understanding what the pain points are for your customers, what their desires are, what's the emotional attachment that they've got with you and your brand and your service and your products. Because what that allows you to do is, if you're continually asking those questions and getting that feedback from your customers, you're then able to iterate and innovate. And going back to habit number one, is that's part of the whole growth mindset philosophy. And I think any time you are getting customer feedback, whatever guise it is, whether it's critical, whether it's positive, is take it in sort of the manner it's intended, I suppose, and see what you can do with that feedback to help improve your business. And a great question that I quite often ask myself is, how can I add more value to my clients?
Nice.
What can I do differently that will allow me to focus on them becoming sort of, for want of a better phrase, repeat clients, or how can a business create customer loyalty? And that, I think, helps become very disruptive in some industries.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, because the customer is the person that keeps coming back. And you mentioned hospitality, and you probably know better than I do that tastes change, don't they? And you have to be obsessed with what the customers buy and keep your menus up, especially like pubs where your background. So you keep that menu relevant, because otherwise people will just go somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's, that's a great point, that is, Mike, because if you think about, I don't know, probably I'm going to go, probably 15, 20 years ago, when you think about the more recent growth in healthier eating, there's a lot more vegetarians, there's a lot more vegans, so 20 years ago, you'd be lucky if you got a vegetable lasagna on a restaurant menu. And now actually it's gone through a phase of, it always used to be you've got a young son, so sometimes it's quite often it's the kids who decide where someone's going to eat because of the experience that they've had, or now it's the people who are looking for a healthier option, or it's people who are on a no and low alcohol, driving light, and all of a sudden, it's not the 90% of hospitality consumers making the decision necessarily about where people are going to go. It's the 10% who are looking for a particular experience to help with part of their lifestyle now, and I think that's a really interesting dynamic for the hospitality industry to navigate currently.
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so what is habit number 3 then?
Right, so habit number 3 sort of builds on I suppose builds on both habits 1 and 2 really, and that's about taking calculated risks. Because I think when you look at businesses that tend to succeed in recent times, they've been businesses that have perhaps disrupted their industry a little bit. So you think about people like, I don't know, Airbnb or Uber, or people like that. And by calculated risks, what I mean is that they think about what the potential hurdles could be, or the challenges, or how something could fail, and try and collate data sitting around that, or ideas around that, to try and mitigate some of those risks. So they're almost going, so what are the outcomes? Let's make informed decisions about them. And that actually that risk is part of the innovation that you need to continue to succeed. And it's almost for want of a better phrase, an acceptable cost of progress that they see as leaders and businesses to grow and develop the business.
Nice. And how does that risk taking show up? Where have you seen people really taking a calculated gamble and it really paying off?
Yeah, so I think for me it's where there's been an environment where someone spotted an opportunity, and I sort of briefly mentioned, you think about Airbnb as an example, and the way that they've gone, okay, so we're going to put almost the control into the hands of the people with the accommodation, the people looking to book the accommodation, and things like that. But I think probably for me, it's somebody like, and I can't remember his name. I think it might be Daniel Ek, who was the co-founder or founder of Spotify.
Okay.
So if you think about what Spotify did, was they came around at a time where music piracy was at its probably all-time high.
Yeah.
But created an environment and the concept of streaming, which was still very new to people. And I think, he took a bet on creating a free, I think he called something like the freemium model. So you could access the music for free, but with ads and paid services added on. And now you look at what Spotify have become, one of the leading podcast hosts, as well as music streaming services. And I think it's those sorts of things where you sort of spot an opportunity and go, right, how can we create something with this that's sort of not low risk, but as I say, a calculated risk, where you've really done some research into what might happen, and then pivot accordingly as that as the business grows.
Yeah, it was super brave, because there was the demand, wasn't it? It was proven demand for people who wanted to stream music. So he knew there was people there. He just had to work out how to make that work financially.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Okay, so we're halfway through. What is habit number 4?
So habit number 4 is leveraging technology and I suppose automation now. So
Mm,
I think, and it's interesting because immediately I think when people start talking about technology now, they immediately think of AI and all of those sorts of things. And I think the thing with technology is, yes, there's the power of understanding what the emerging technologies are and how they might help you and how they might push the boundaries of you being able to build your business, change your business models and your processes and all those sorts of good things. Um, but it's not just an end to a means, as it were, to solve those problems. I think it's also about helping you create that unique customer experience that I spoke about
mm,
in habit number 2. You think about all of the AI stuff that's going on at the moment. You go think about some of the other technological advancements, and actually, it's a great, exciting time. Technology advancements have never happened so quick as they are currently, and I think businesses have to sort of almost try and take a step back and work out what technology is going to work for them,
mm,
because we ourselves have got two very, in some respects, similar businesses but very different businesses,
mm.
and therefore other people watching and listening in, whether it be live or on replay, will have different businesses to the one that I run. So therefore the technology that we all utilize could be very different, and it's about them being able to see what the emerging trend is, but not just jump on the next bandwagon as it was when it comes to technologies,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and it's finding technology that's right for you as well, isn't it? Like you
Yeah,
say, it's not jumping on the thing that's there. It's the what is my problem in my business now, and
correct.
I think one of the habit changes that I see on my journeys is people moving from their old way of solving it, which tends
Mm,
to be more people, if that makes sense, just throw people at a situation rather than
yeah,
actually how is there a technology that can do the thing I need to do?
yeah, yeah, and I think it's there's there's one of the well, there's a couple of chapters in my book that talk about this specific thing, but one of them's called Sweating the Unsexy. And it's all about those processes that nobody thinks about when they're setting up a business for the first time. But
Mm,
actually, that's where technology can really help you, because actually, if you can automate some of those processes and use technology to help you, it means actually, whilst you may still want to bring more people into the business, but you've actually got them doing something that's more customer focused and customer facing and helping you innovate, and all of the sexy bits of business that everybody wants to get involved with. So I think that point is a great one, Mike.
yeah, awesome. Okay, we're almost there. What is the fifth habit that we should be thinking about to help our businesses succeed?
Right. So this is quite an interesting one. So it's all about building a culture of collaboration, and I think it's one of those where collaboration means different things to different people. And I think there's sort of three elements to this I see for businesses that succeed, and each one of them will work better for different types of businesses. So working together and not having that silo mentality that quite often we
Mm,
may have seen in larger businesses, where
yeah,
you've got one function going off doing their own thing and not quite thinking about how that all matches together. So actually, how do you create an opportunity for people to work better together internally, in your business, and actually get that inclusive and diverse thought process through, you know like, as a business. There's then also what I would describe as customer collaboration as well. So where you've got great brands that have created a community of raving fans, as it were. And I'd go back and think about the communities that mentioned him earlier, that the Gymshark, Ben Francis and Gymshark, have created in that fitness world, or somebody like I think her name's Emily Weiss, who built a company called Glossier, and she collaborates with her customers to crowdsource product ideas um, for her I think it's makeup, their beauty industry
Okay.
products. So that's the second part of collaboration. How can you collaborate with your customers? And then I think there's a third one, which is how do you collaborate with other businesses
Mhm.
or other brands to create something. So I can remember going to America many years ago now, and going into a Barnes and Noble bookshop in one of the cities we were visiting, and there was a Starbucks sitting in
Mhm.
the middle of the Barnes and Noble bookstore. So they're sort of almost non-competitive, but very complementary
Yeah.
offerings. People would sit in Starbucks reading a book they just bought from the bookshop, having a coffee, and it's that's the third stage for me of using collaboration as a way to succeed and continue to succeed.
Yeah. I think that it really is how I see it. A lot of businesses growing now is that they work with someone else that adds to the conversation and what's going on. So it really does, like, there is a value there of that collaboration. And I think Heinz, I don't know what Heinz are on at the moment, but all their different pitch-ups that they keep pinging out, and there's obviously something there, isn't it? How do you sell something that's sold for 150 years? Well, you hook into, like, they're doing Morley's like mayonnaise, which is a chicken shop here in London. And they're just like,
Yeah,
where has this even come from? So even those more
yeah.
established businesses are doing it to keep themselves contemporary as well.
Yeah, and I think that's right. That's a great phrase. I think it is all about keeping your brand and business front of mind as well. Or
Mm,
again, going back to my point about, well, how can I add more value for my own clients? Well, that's by collaborating with other people in a similar but different space to the one that I'm into, whether it be to create a service, a product, an event, to enhance people's, again, going back to my point about customer obsession, that experience people are having in and around what we're trying to do as individuals.
yeah, nice. I love it. I love it. So we are through all 5. So Dave, if you could recap, what is habit number 1?
So habit number 1 was having a growth mindset culture in your business.
Habit number 2?
Cultivating customer obsession.
Nice. Habit number 3?
Taking calculated risks.
Brilliant. Number 4?
Was embracing technology.
And habit number 5?
Was building a culture of collaboration.
Brilliant. I love all of them, Dave. And I thank you so much for coming. Your book is in the final throes, isn't it, of coming into the
Yes.
world? And we have got for people that are watching, we have got the sign up link to that in the comments, so they can put their details down and be notified when it comes out into the world. Is there anything else you're working on, or is there a bit more you want to tell about the book before we say goodbye to everyone?
So there's a number of things I'm working on at the moment. One of them's a sort of a collaborative project with a couple of other people in my network, where we're trying to create a different type of leadership event, where we are talking about what I would describe as traditional leadership methodologies, but in a bit of a different twist. So we talk about values and missions and things like that. We talk about leading in uncertain times, and I do a session around exceptional experiences based off my time in hospitality. So that's quite exciting. And then so I'm just doing, as you know, for those that don't know, so I run a business consultancy and coaching business that where I don't try, I use my curiosity to help ignite people's creativity about their business, and particularly try and help those businesses, leaders, owners who are frustrated about their processes and technology not quite being able to deliver the growth that they're aspiring to be. So if anybody's interested, they can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Dave Rogers. The Business Explorer is probably the best thing to search on LinkedIn, and you'll come across my profile. So please connect if we're not already.
Amazing. That's brilliant. Cool. Okay. So just to wrap up, so anyone who's watched this, if you do want to watch more of these conversations, on YouTube, there is a whole playlist of the 5 Habits of series and conversation that we've had. And there's also the other series, the Ops Up Inside Your Head, where I talk to ops leaders about how they run their businesses. Now, one final thing for me. So I'm actually doing a bit of pivot myself, Dave. I'm taking a bit of a calculated risk at the moment. So I haven't been able to make my previous offer work. So currently, into the world, I'm bringing the productivity pod. Now, you were part of an early version of this, weren't you? In the version of the Breakfast Club, and the productivity pod is aimed at anybody in a business that needs to get a project done, and it's about focusing for 9 weeks on one goal. And I help the attendees learn new habits, new processes, really focus on the productivity to get things achieved and build things like websites, help people build out podcast content, and other people change their habits around productivity. So if you're interested, we are starting in October. So please do drop me a DM. And I'm going to tell the price is, Dave, you said to me before this call, you said that's a ridiculous price. So it's £49 for 9 weeks of calls, support. And the reason why it's so ridiculously low is because I need people to come and do this and tell other people about what it can achieve. Now, Dave, you were there briefly, and you aren't expecting this question. Briefly, for someone who's been through the process, what's it like?
Yeah. Did you have something? It was an unbelievable experience, and I'm not just saying that because you put me on the spot. It genuinely was, and you know, it helped me in the space of, I think we did it in 6 weeks when I did when we did the original one. I managed to go from having no content for a series of 5 local radio shows about my business and what I was doing in my services to having a fully scripted set of content ready to go. And I think the support that you gave, that the other attendees in the group gave, I think, you know, for anybody who's thinking about joining this based on what Mike's just said, I would definitely say go for it. You know, it'll be the best £49 you could spend, and you will go and get some amazing results from it.
Brilliant, amazing. That's great. Thank you very much. And genuinely, that was a surprise request for a for a review. So thank you very much. And yeah, it was a genuine pleasure, and it is genuinely a great thing. So, Dave, thank you very much for being my guest today on 5 Habits of. It's been a pleasure. Have a brilliant day. Thanks very much.